It was supposed to be a quiet weekend, just me, a few friends, and a treehouse deep in the woods. But from the moment I arrived, something felt off. I can still hear the creak of the old wooden ladder as I climbed up to the treehouse, the last of the daylight slipping away. The sun had just dipped below the horizon when I stepped onto the platform, greeted only by the chirping of crickets and the rustling of leaves in the breeze. The air felt thick, heavier than usual, like it was holding something in. "We're gonna have fun, right?" Matt asked, voice high and tense, as he hoisted a cooler up after me. "Yeah," I replied, but even I wasn't convinced. It wasn't the place. The treehouse was solid, well built. But the woods surrounding it felt wrong. There was a heaviness to the silence that seemed to cling to everything. We unpacked the cooler and set up the few folding chairs inside the treehouse, its walls worn by years of exposure but still sturdy. The wooden floor was creaky beneath our feet, and I remember wondering how much longer it could hold up. At first, everything was fine. We drank, joked, and shared stories, the moonlight pouring in through the cracks in the treehouse walls. But as the hours passed, something strange started to happen. I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. Matt kept glancing toward the edge of the platform, like he could sense it too. I asked him about it. "Did you hear that?" he asked suddenly, his face pale under the dim glow of the lantern. I froze. There was nothing but the occasional wind whispering through the trees. No animals, no rustling, nothing. "Hear what?" I asked, trying to sound calm. "That thud. Like something heavy hitting the ground." I listened. All I heard was the wind. "I don't know, man. It's just the trees." But Matt didn't look convinced. He kept staring out into the dark woods, his eyes flicking back and forth like he was waiting for something to move. I tried to brush it off, but the tension in the air had thickened, suffocating. I could feel my heart rate picking up, each tick of the clock in the corner of the room echoing louder in the quiet. It wasn't until I stepped outside for a moment that I realized just how wrong things had gotten. The air had turned icy cold, and I could see my breath, thick and white, in front of me. The sky was completely overcast now, the moon hidden behind heavy clouds. At first, I thought it was one of the guys, maybe Chris, messing around, but then I saw that it was standing unnaturally still, too still, just beyond the tree line. I couldn't make out any details, just the silhouette of a person, tall and lanky, standing like a statue. My pulse raced. "Guys, is that one of you?" I called out. No response. The figure didn't move. I blinked, and when I looked again, it was gone. My stomach twisted, and I stumbled back into the treehouse, heart pounding in my chest. "Did you guys see that?" Everyone looked at me, eyes wide and unsettled. "I didn't see anything," Chris said, his voice low. He shifted in his seat, suddenly uneasy. I swallowed hard, trying to calm myself. "I swear I saw something. There was someone out there." Matt looked at me, then at the others, and for a long moment, there was silence. Then, just as I was about to dismiss it as nothing more than my imagination, we heard the noise again. A thud. This time, louder. Closer. We all froze. The door to the treehouse creaked open. For a moment, I thought it was the wind. But then I saw the figure again. This time, much closer, at the base of the tree. Its face was obscured by the shadows, but I could feel its eyes on us. Watching. I didn't wait for anyone to move. I slammed the door shut and locked it, my hands trembling. "Should we call someone?" Chris asked, his voice barely a whisper. "No signal," I muttered, already realizing that we were trapped. The woods around us were dense, and the nearest town was miles away. We sat there in the dark, the sound of that dragging growing louder, circling us. Every so often, there was a soft tap, like something was knocking against the walls of the treehouse. The noise grew louder and closer, and I could feel the walls of the treehouse vibrating beneath my feet. "What the hell is that?" Matt hissed, his voice shaking. It wasn't just a thud. It was a dragging sound, like something heavy scraping against the ground. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. A figure. I rushed for the ladder, my breath coming in short gasps. But as I reached for the opening, I froze. There, in the dim light, something dark had replaced the ladder. Something long and jagged, sticking out of the treehouse wall like claws. It had been waiting for me. I backed away slowly, panic creeping up my spine. Suddenly, the scratching stopped. And then came the voice. "Let me in." It wasn't a whisper. It was a deep, rasping voice, just outside the door. We held our breath, and the silence was deafening. Then, nothing. We never saw it. We didn't want to. It felt like hours, but it was probably only a few minutes before we heard the sound of something climbing the tree. Slow. Steady. Purposeful. The floor beneath us groaned under the weight. A pause. And then, a scratching. Like nails dragging against wood. I couldn't take it anymore. The next morning, we left. No one said anything. We didn't need to. But when I turned back for one last look, the treehouse looked wrong. Like it was never meant to be there at all. I didn't return. And to this day, I don't know if it was a person or something else. But whatever it was, it's still out there. Waiting. The unease was suffocating, and every time I looked toward the window, I could feel it, those eyes, still watching, still waiting.